Hello nerds and nerdettes, and welcome back to the channel where once again we have a new video for you guys. Today's video will be the 1 year of doing YouTube celebration, as well as the 1K subscriber giveaway celebration. I know we are past 1K at this point, but because of the hiatus during October, I wasn't able to get to it until now. So I figured why not take both of those subjects and make it into one video so it's that much easier to digest content-wise. But before we get into the brunt of the video giveaway and the Q&A, a quick reminder that if you are looking for any of the books that I've mentioned on my channel, reviewed on my channel, or talked about on my channel, to use the channel sponsor, organicpricebooks.com. You can use the discount code STAYNERDY for $2 off, or you can use the code STAYNERDY ship it together when ordering 4 or more books to get 5% off. Both of those codes are a great way to help support the channel, and every little bit counts, so I truly appreciate that. But let's go ahead and get into the front of the video, starting with the giveaway. So first and foremost, I do want to thank each and every one of you guys for subscribing to the channel. 1K subscribers was a milestone for the channel as soon as it pretty much came to be, and you guys made sure that that milestone was achieved. So thank you so much. Without you all, I would really have no reason to make these videos. I wouldn't have the community that we have. So thank you, thank you, thank you. And to thank you even further, I am going to be doing a giveaway like I said, but this one's going to be a little bit different because there is going to be a third place winner, a second place winner, and a first place winner. But now we can go over the third place prize, second place prize, and the first place prize. Stumbling over my words there. But for third place, we do have Superman Camelot Falls. This is a great story that follows Superman after the 1 year later, post-Infinite Crisis. I did do a review on this particular deluxe edition because it is a DC deluxe edition, not an omnibus, so don't confuse it with that. It is a great story and very important to the character of Superman, especially during this era. And for second place, we have Captain America by Dan Jurgens, the Marvel Omnibus. This is the run that pretty much immediately follows the Mark Waid run on Captain America, which is my personal favorite run on the character of Captain America. So if I could have it my way, this would be the Mark Waid Omnibus, but as we all know, not only is that omnibus extremely out of print, but it had all kinds of binding issues, and I wouldn't want to doom anybody to getting a bad copy, even if I could get my hands on it. But I still very much enjoy this run on Captain America. Dan Jurgens, the legendary writer that he is, on the Star-Spangled superhero that we all know and love. So that is the second place prize. And then the first place prize, which is a whammy and very hard to move, is going to be Hellboy, the monster-sized edition. This is from Dark Horse's Colossal line, or whatever the proper term of it is. So this is the same size as Big Damn Sin City, which means it is larger than a Marvel Omnibus. So you are getting a large chunk of Hellboy in this all-in-one volume, I guess. Mike Mignola is a great creator, Hellboy is a great character, and from what I hear, this is already out of print, so this is definitely great bang for your buck, especially because it's free. You just have to win the first place prize. So that is the prizes for the giveaway. Stay tuned during the Q&A portion, because at some point I will be mentioning the instructions to do in the comments down below in order to enter the giveaway. So stay tuned and watch the Q&A portion to make sure you don't miss that. But now we can go ahead and jump into the Q&A. All right, now the Q&A portion of the video. So for this Q&A, I am going to be having Mrs. Nerd helping reading off the questions while I answer them. So Mrs. Nerd can say hello.
Hello.
I hope you guys heard that because she is behind the mic. But she will be reading off the questions. I will be answering them. So if you hear a voice off the camera, just understand that is Mrs. Nerd, not a disgruntled entity in my house. But we can go ahead and start with the first question.
Okay, so we have from Havoc1718. What made you want to do YouTube?
What made me want to do YouTube was just being a fan of YouTube in general. ever since I was a kid, I've always wanted to do YouTube, no matter what the hobby was. When I was younger, I was really into video games as well, and I always had dreams of putting my video game content on YouTube and having a community and making people laugh and everything like that. But like most of us do, I never strived for that. It took just kind of my wife doing what she always dreamed of to inspire me, and then I ended up doing what I always wanted to do and just hoped that it didn't fail. And that's really the main reason that I ended up doing YouTube at this point in my life. But the short answer is I've just always wanted to do it. I've always been a fan of YouTube over TV, over movies, over anything. That's what I absorb as my entertainment. So that's my main reason that I decided to do it.
Okay, from redright.strawhat. What's your favorite genre other than zombies?
My favorite genre other than zombies is probably capes and cows. Anything superhero oriented. I know I mention zombies all the time because that is my guilty pleasure. I don't know why. I can watch a bad zombie movie a million times over, and it still entertains me, but we all have those guilty pleasures, I guess. But my main favorite genre that I enjoy the most and I absorb the most and read the most is superheroes. You guys probably noticed during my reviews or during my hauls, and I mainly collect superhero comics because that's what I've always read and that's what I've always enjoyed. I am obviously broadening my horizons to manga and indie titles, but superheroes are my bread and butter. So that is a different genre that I like, but it's also my main genre.
Okay, from Joe Arnold 333. What's your favorite Batman omnibus and favorite Batman movie?
My favorite Batman Omnibus is going to have to be, um, I'd probably say Nightfall Volume 1. It's between that and maybe Volume 3. I'm a sucker for Mantle Swap. I'm also a sucker when it comes to a hero losing, but I also very much enjoy to see a hero lose and then rise up and then win. So I like that underdog kind of story. And the entire Nightfall storyline is essentially that, just obviously elongated between 3 volumes. But you really get to see Batman lose. You really get to see Batman at his wits' end and get broken, not only physically but mentally. And then you get to see the punches keep coming as his Batman replacement kind of stabs him in the back in a lot of ways, and he has to then strive to correct that situation that he kind of put in place. So definitely the Nightfall stuff. No Man's Land is always whispering in my ear every time I say Nightfall, but I'll stick with Nightfall for now. And as far as movies, I mean, I think everyone, Dark Knight with Christian Bale and the amazing Joker that takes place in that movie that gives us all chills and we all remember still to this day. So I think that's definitely a somewhat obvious answer. I think anyone that doesn't say Dark Knight as their favorite Batman movie is definitely having a little bit of a hot take there, but definitely Dark Knight just because I love Joker and the Christian Bale movies are the best well done Batman movies that I've seen so far. Not that I don't like the other ones, it's just that trilogy is the best done, in my opinion at least.
Average comics enjoyer asked, have you ever happened to go over budget just because you really want a certain book?
All the time. I have absolutely went over budget because I want a certain book, but I think that is the seesawing act that we all take on when going into a hobby that we thoroughly enjoy. There's always going to be points where we fall off that metaphorical horse and go over budget, and then we have to climb back on and keep ourselves strict again. So I'd probably say every month I go over budget in some form or fashion. That's just kind of the name of the game, sadly. Especially when it comes to me wanting to put content out there now. So it's like kind of a new way that I have to balance my spending habits. But absolutely, I'm human like everyone else. I love comics, and sometimes I just get spend happy with the things that I love. So yeah, definitely.
Okay, from redright.strawhat again. What's your favorite videos to make?
My favorite videos to make are probably my reviews. I've always wanted to be a reviewer of some sort. Even when I was younger and played video games, I wanted to kind of become a video game reviewer. I just love which I've probably mentioned so many times in videos, I love the subjectivity of media in general, that somebody can watch a movie and then another person can watch a movie and they can have two separate opinions on that movie or that comic book, that video game. One person can absolutely hate it, the other person can think it's a life-changing movie or comic or whatever, and I just absolutely love that. And I love putting my opinion out there with everyone else's, and just then, because of the differing of opinions, talking about that said thing. So I definitely like my reviews and filming my reviews, just because it also takes a little bit more brain power than some of the other types of videos like hauls and stuff. But definitely hauls also. I really enjoy filming hauls just because I can kind of just go off the cuff and say what I want and just be a complete lunatic on camera as well. So hauls and reviews are probably hand in hand, but for different reasons, maybe leaning a little more towards reviews at this point at least, but that would be my answer.
Okay, we have two more from Red Right Dot Straw Hat, so I'll combine them into one.
Okay.
What have you learned in a year, and then hopes for your second year on YouTube?
What have I learned? So the first portion, what have I learned in a year of doing YouTube? I've learned that, one, there is way more to it than you expect. I really didn't touch a camera or a computer until I started doing YouTube, and the amount that I've learned, which I still feel like is only the surface, is incredible. And I was very, very ill-equipped and unprepared for the amount that I had to learn in order to get into it, to at least create a product that I'm proud of, at least. But I've also learned that you need to do it for you. That's probably the thing that I've learned the most. There's going to be people that don't enjoy your videos. There's going to be people that disagree with your opinion, your thoughts. And at the end of the day, as long as you enjoy the product that you're putting out, you enjoy the video that you made, and your community, those that actually watch your videos, care, then that is the most important aspect of making any form of content. Because if you're not enjoying it and you're not liking what you're making, then really there's no point to do it at the end of the day. And the second half, what was the second question?
Hopes for your second year.
Hopes for my second year would be just to keep growing, keep enjoying making content, keep this community alive and flourishing, because honestly that's the highlight of all of this, is seeing those of you that are always in the comment section and partaking in dialogue with me or each other, whatever it may be. And that is what pushes me, and that is what makes me happy, and that's the part that I enjoy the most. So as long as that continues into my second year, then I'm happy at that point, because my main milestone going in was definitely 1K subscribers. I've reached that, and obviously I want more subscribers, and I would like to get more views and reach more people with my content. But the community and the community growing is numero uno for me, at least.
All About Comics asked, what was your favorite comic you've read this year?
My favorite comic that I've read this year, that's a hard one. I would probably say tied between Murder Falcon by Daniel Warren Johnson and Tokyo Ghost by Rick Remender. Both of those were very, very impactful and connected with me on a personal level, which always makes books like that much better when you're reading it. And they were very heavy and emotional, which I always like to have an emotional reaction when reading books as well, because then you can tell it's touching you. But another one that I would probably mention would be Callie as well. That was a great read. Didn't have as much substance to it, but reading it, I couldn't put it down. I couldn't stop looking at panels. It was just a artistic masterpiece, in my opinion, just looking at it. The book design, the paneling, the art, the colors, every aspect of it. And then if we're talking more manga wise, then probably Tokyo Revengers. That's another one that touched me on a personal level and allowed me to kind of like connect with the character. So, but I guess the short answer, because I'm obviously rambling, is going to be Murder Falcon and Tokyo Ghost tied. That's the quick answer.
You don't give quick answers.
No, never a quick answer. No, I like talking comic books, so it's hard.
Okay. What advice would you give someone who wants to do YouTube?
What advice would I give to someone that wants to do YouTube? Do it. That's the only advice I would give. I think so many people want to and just don't because of fear, that little voice in the back of our heads that say we're going to fail, that other voice that says, what's the point? Just do it. I mean, if you enjoy it, then no reason to not.
Example of not doing a short answer.
Well, I think do it does need more of an explanation. I mean, that.
Just do it, but then I'll explain.
Well, I can't just steal Nike's trademark like that and explain. So.
User NN2EH4XX6M. He has 4 questions, so I'll start.
Okay, one at a time because I forget them.
Yeah, I'll start with the first. Is your spouse interested in your comic hobby/passion, and how does she support you regarding comics?
No, not at all. I tried to get her into comics a lot. She does like Saga. That's probably the only comic book that she's read and enjoyed, but that's pretty much it. She does support me buying things that I like and ingesting comic books and stuff like that. So she's very supportive of that, and she's very supportive of YouTube as well. A lot of things she's helped me with and kind of understand because she's more tech savvy than me. But as far as reading comics, no, not at all.
How do you manage finances regarding comics?
How do I manage finances regarding comics? I don't. That,
Buy now.
yeah, buy now and regret it. I mean, that's kind of how I guess we all function. But I try to actually balance it where I have a certain amount of money, like $200 that I don't want to go over during a particular week or month or whatever that budget is. I just set in place and try to not go over it. And even that budget, typically I set in place with some wiggle room behind it just in case I do go over, because I typically do. So I kind of just try to do that and stick to it. Doesn't always work, but we're trying.
Number 3 was best read you discovered this past year that you may not have picked up if you didn't run your channel.
Probably a lot of the Rick Remender books. Honestly, I'm going to say my whole indie section in general. As I've mentioned, I've always read superhero comics. That's what I've always ingested. But through you guys, my indies section, my indies want to read section has just expanded that much more. One thing I do really want to dive into, but it's almost kind of intimidating in a way because of you guys, is the English side of comics. So like Tintin and stuff like that. I want to dive into that realm, but I haven't yet, but I do plan to. But I'll just say indies is probably the best answer because I wasn't collecting that before the channel, other than like Invincible, but here I am now with an entire indies section. So that's the quick answer.
Last one, which should be an easy and short answer, is favorite comic character.
Favorite comic character? Boy, have you watched any videos? My favorite comic character is, I typically describe as a tie between Superman and Captain America, but it does lean much more towards Captain America than Superman. But my all-time favorite comic character is from a manga, and that is Guts from Berserk. That is my all-time favorite character ever from anything that I've ever read.
From Strange Marvel Things 2049, what is your favorite comic books? So maybe you didn't clarify, but maybe top 3.
My favorite comic books. Sorry, guys. So Berserk is my favorite thing that I've ever read. I've mentioned that before. Sorry if I'm beating a dead horse there. But my two favorite runs in comic books are Green Lantern by Jeff Johns. That entire run, I can read that 24/7. And Captain America by Mark Waid, and Ron Gardney and Andy Kubert. That is also my favorite comic book ever. But I'm not sure if you mean like a specific issue or what, but I'm just going to take that as favorite title.
Um, this user's name's cut off, so I'm not sure, but they said, now that you've been at it for a year, do you think you've naturally created a catchphrase? If not, I'd like to submit as well as an option. Congrats on the anniversary.
As well as a good catchphrase to use because I do say it about a million times. If you guys haven't noticed, I'm very uncomfortable in front of the camera still. I'm getting more comfortable, but it's still kind of nerve-wracking knowing that I am talking to a what I deem as a large amount of people because I typically talk to like 2 or 3 people a day. So I do find myself repeating words, but I am trying to get better at that. If you notice in my haul, there was a point when I was talking about Lazarus and I said as well, like back to back. And the second as well, I like stumble because I remembered this comment. So I am trying. So bear with me. But the catchphrase of the channel is stay nerdy. That's technically the actual catchphrase.
From Zine 2021 says, I'm curious, as you continue to build your library, what are some comic recommendations that you simply cannot get behind, but others seem to love? What reasons do you have for your hesitation or even dislike the material? Squirrel.
Yeah, one major one is Squirrel Girl. I've had plenty of people try to talk me into reading Squirrel Girl and getting the omnibus. The issues that I have read that have featured Squirrel Girl and the issues that I have read of Squirrel Girl's series, I have never liked. I don't find them funny. I don't find them endearing. And I don't find them enjoyable. But that, again, goes back into subjectivity and what people like and don't like. It's just not my cup of tea. Another one is Swamp Thing as well as Sandman. It's something that I've read and I've enjoyed, of course. It is a literal masterpiece in comic book format, but it's one that a lot of people recommend to other people as like their first comic, like when getting into comics. And I think it's a good comic to read when getting in, but not as your first one. I think in order to really appreciate the storytelling and the art and the paneling, you need to just have a couple, good, bad, and ugly comics under your belt. And then when you dive into Swamp Thing or Sandman or Watchmen or anything like that, where it's a actual piece of literature in comic book format, you really get to just love and embrace everything that those titles are because you've experienced other things that are out there. The best thing I can kind of connect it to is Berserk being like my first manga, and now every other manga that I've ever read is nowhere near as good as Berserk because I started with Berserk. So that's the recommendation that I always see people make, and I never necessarily agree with just because it's one that it ages like a fine wine. The more good, bad, and ugly comics you read before the great ones make the great ones just that much more sweeter.
What about any particular artists that you can't get behind?
The first artist that comes to mind, which always pains me to say because he is such a great guy, and that's John Romita Jr. Rest in peace to his father, John Romita Sr., who passed this year, but such a awesome person and creator, and definitely has a foothold and a place in comic books history. But a lot of his modern art just does not vibe with me as a reader. I do not enjoy it. The only thing that I really enjoyed his art on was Kick-Ass, but other than that, I typically don't really love it.
Okay, from at Luis Ricardo Yero Rodrigo 1968, sorry for that butcher. Why do you think European comics are not so popular in the USA? Can you talk comics about your favorite European comics.
My favorite European comics I'll touch on first is Tintin, because that's the only thing that I've probably read any type of material from. Um, why is it not as popular here? Because I think, very similar to differing cultures, depending on where you're at in the world, the comic book culture here in America is much more superhero based, and that's usually what most comic book readers ingest is superhero comics. But as far as if it can become popular here, I think so. I think it can at one point or at some point, but I just think right now we're too ingrained in superhero comics because that's our culture going all the way back to World War II. That is our bread and butter when it comes to comic books. Interrupting the Q&A for the instructions for the giveaway, that rhymed. In order to enter the giveaway, comment down below, stay nerdy, and then also let me know a type of video that you'd love to see me film and put out for you guys. The drawing will be done on Black Friday on a live stream, so look forward to that. But back to the Q&A.
Okay, the same guy has a second question saying, what is your opinion on the holy trinity of comic strip artists? Hal Foster, parentheses, Prince Valiant and Tarzan, Alex Raymond, Flash Gordon and Rip Kirby, and then Milton Caniff, Terry and the Pirates, and Steve Canyon.
My opinion on them, that I'm thankful that they existed. The founding fathers of comic books in any format, whether it's newspaper comics or actual single issues or anything along those lines, I definitely pay my respects to them and I am thankful to them. And I appreciate their contribution to this world that we indulge in. If you haven't noticed, I'm not necessarily a like Bronze Age reader, so I typically don't dive into that world as far as content and comic books and titles, but I still absolutely respect their contribution and what they created, because without them, none of us would be here and reading the comic books that we know and love.
Okay, and Bakes1420 said, what's something you want to get better at for YouTube, and what's something you feel like you have improved with YouTube?
So something I want to get better at YouTube is editing. I would love to have more quicker and smoother transitions and kind of just a better product overall when it comes to editing, but that does come with time and practice like anything. And I would also like to get better at just showing myself on camera. It is very difficult to not, put on that theatrical kind of face to entertain people rather than just being yourself. The times you probably see very close to who I am is during the hauls, but those are probably the two things I would want to get better at. And what I feel like I've gotten better at is probably everything, because like I said, I didn't touch a camera or a computer before a year ago, so the fact that I'm even putting out a form of video that is eligible and you can hear it and you can actually see things makes me happy, and I feel like that is a great improvement from doing nothing. That was a broad answer, but it's true.
Okay, and at BunkmassAB.
Bunkmaster P.
Oh, okay. At Bunkmaster B, having a year in on YouTube and having gotten married during that time. Congrats again. How do you find the time to balance your real life duties and still put out consistently high quality content?
Okay, well, Bunkmaster B, shout out to you. So the October hiatus that I keep referencing is that I was married during the month of October.
Or you got married?
I got married. I got married during the month of October. That's why the hiatus took place. And the best way that I find personally, which maybe some would disagree or agree depending on who they are, my best way to kind of juggle the two is just to keep them kind of separate. I have my personal life and what takes place in my personal life, and I have my more YouTube side of life that I am willing to share and kind of put out there. But I think the best way for me to make sure that I am contributing to both is just to make sure that they don't converge and carry over. That way, I'm not doing YouTube when I'm with my wife, and I'm not, doing husbandly duties when I'm trying to film, and just kind of keeping them separate as possible. That way, I can contribute energy to both at different times during my day, if that makes sense. But that's probably the best answer I can give. It goes the same with work. I don't really drag my wife into the office and to my job sites and everything like that, because I wouldn't get anything done, because I would be hanging out with my wife the entire time. So that's probably the best way for me personally to juggle it, is just kind of keep them as separate trees that I water at different times.
Well, also you stick to a schedule. You have.
Oh yeah, and a schedule. If you have a schedule for anything, schedule out time to hang out with your family, wife, schedule time to film, schedule time to work, and when that time to do those things is present, you're doing strictly that and being present in whatever it is that you're doing. I think that's very important as well, but keeping them separate and having a schedule. That's the best answer.
And he said, also, why do you hate Ice Cream Man?
Why do I hate Ice Cream Man? I don't hate Ice Cream Man, bunk. I enjoyed Ice Cream Man. I just didn't love Ice Cream Man. I feel guilty for that because I feel like everyone else did, and that's why I want to dive into Volume 2 and see if I do end up loving it. But I did like it. I don't hate it. I apologize to those of you out there, but it was just okay.
Last two questions, and they're both by the same guy. So, at Infinite Son Goku, what does your schedule look like for reading books to review? Do you have a set reading schedule, or do you just find a way?
My reading schedule is when I can. That's my reading schedule for anything. Like anyone, life gets in the way sometimes, and sometimes I'm exhausted. It really depends, but I try to get at least 2 issues in every time I read, and I try again to read at least once a day before bed, and it really depends. It's a day-to-day thing, but as far as reading for reviewing, I'm very grateful and blessed to have a very good memory, and a lot of these, really everything in my collection, which I've probably said before, I've read in single issues because I have been collecting comic books and reading comic books since I was 8 years old. So the source material that I'm reviewing and talking about and referencing and everything like that during my reviews, I've read before and I have a very good memory about. So it usually just takes me like an hour-long flip through to kind of remember the story, the characters, what took place, and everything along those lines. And I do read like maybe an issue or more sometimes, depending on the story and how much I can actually retain and remember. So it really depends on the title, but 9 times out of 10, I read when I can. And for reviews, I typically just try to do a quick brush through to shapen up the memory, and then I just kind of dive in and pull from the head.
Okay, and last one is, besides Berserk, clearly your number one, what is your favorite manga?
Okay, so besides Berserk, my other favorite mangas, which I have a short somewhere out there that I go over my top 5, but my number 2 is Vinland Saga. Berserk and Vinland Saga are my 1 and 2 manga that will probably never change because they are such great stories. But I feel like those are in a lot of people's top 5s. So the ones that I feel like aren't will be probably my 3rd favorite, which is I Am a Hero, which is a zombie-centric, whimsical comedy horror manga. And then Blade of the Immortal, which is a very comic-like manga that follows a immortal samurai protecting a young girl, and then it just goes awry from there. So Berserk, Vinland Saga, I Am a Hero, Blade of the Immortal, and Akira are my top 5 favorite mangas that I've read at this point. So that's the quick answer, I guess, or me trying to give a quick answer. But that does wrap up today's video. Thank you so much for watching. I had a lot of fun filming this for you guys. I hope some of my answers are not too long and no one falls asleep watching this video. and I hope you guys did stay tuned and get the instructions of how to enter the giveaway, because that is very important in order to potentially win one of the 3 prizes. So thank you for watching. I truly appreciate you guys. If you would like to become a member of the community, hit that subscribe button. Also, if you could hit that thumbs up icon, it means a lot to us. And if you did enjoy today's video, the weird Q&A that it was, hit that bell icon. That way you can get notified anytime I put out any type of content. But once again, thank you, thank you, thank you for 1K subscribers and watching this insanely odd video, and stay nerdy.